Works in PR for the Schoenberg Library. Her specialty is young adult novels. She's written 2 novels and has another one coming out. And she also has written 1 children's book, which is both based primarily on her photographs. And she teaches writing workshops and also gives travel presentations. Susan?
Well, I just want to start out by saying thank you to Casa Italia for having me here for this event. This is great. I was here in 2014 when my first novel came out. And these are the books I've written here. Healer was my very first manuscript, and I loved it and I thought it was great, but what I didn't know is that was about 10 years ago, was that I still had a lot to learn about writing. So I kept working on Healer over the years, and wrote another manuscript, Show Me a Sign, another young adult novel, and that was actually the first one to get published. I've always loved nature photography, and I also loved writing poetry, and so I wrote Paw Prints in the Snow, How God Protects Animals from the Cold, which is a combination of faith and science, and it's poems. It's poetry, and each animal poem has one of my photos to go with it. So it's very colorful and kind of fun and entertaining, but it also teaches children about animals too. And I recently got a contract for book 2 of Healer, and that is Shards of Light. So I'm excited about that. It's coming out August 29th from the same publisher, Inspire Publishing. So anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about my books. And I'll start out by saying, yes, like many of you, I am Italian American. As a child, I was kind of in this Italian Catholic bubble where I thought everybody was Italian and Catholic. And then a few years went on and I realized that, oh, all the normal people are Italian Catholic, and then there's the others, you know. And my grandmother, and that kind of represents her down in the corner there, the picture, every Friday she would make homemade bread and homemade pizza and artichokes and eggplant and all this other stuff. And my father, who was a mechanic for Mack Truck, he would every Friday go have dinner with Grandma and then bring home bags of all of this wonderful, freshly made food for us. So that was one of the great traditions in my house growing up. Go to the next one. So real quick, my background is I went to college at Northern Illinois University. I was a reporter for the Northern Star. I graduated and I worked for the Berwyn-Cicero Life newspaper, and followed my dream to leave Illinois and go out west. So I moved to Albuquerque and became, that's not me, by the way. I didn't have a picture of me, but I became a television reporter in Albuquerque. And my cousin out in Albuquerque, Ben Abruzzo, and I don't know if anyone knows that name, he was very well known for a while, but he was one of the first people he was a balloonist, and he was one of the first people to cross the ocean in a hot air balloon. And his balloon is in the Smithsonian Museum, and when I first moved out there, I lived with his family for a while until I got my own apartment and everything. I lived with his mom, actually, my Aunt Mary Abruzzo. So there's just some pictures from Albuquerque, and you can see why I loved it. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And anyway, so I came back home after 2 years. I missed my family. Came back home, went back into newspaper reporting for a short while, and got married. So that represents my husband and my children and my cat. We don't look anything like that. My husband is actually Japanese, and I did mean to say that my parents, like most Italian parents, were really, really hoping that their 4 children would all marry Italians, and one by one we dashed through hopes, and then I was the last hope they had, and I brought home this Japanese cop, and it was all over. So all of their grandchildren are huge mixtures. And then we had children who married people of different ethnicities. And we have this big, beautiful, diverse family with different colors and cultures and traditions and opinions about things and all of that. But it's amazing, and we all love each other so much. And I really love to include diversity in my books. So even though there's always Italian characters in my books, I've got all kinds of people from different nationalities in there too. So anyway, I had this whole career of journalism, and then I went into public relations, and it was great for making money and helping to support my family and all of that, but I had always really wanted to use my writing to write fiction. So finally I decided I was going to go for it, and started writing fiction. And as I said, my first manuscript was Healer, about a teenage girl who discovers she has the spiritual gift of healing. And it starts with a scene as the prologue. In the prologue, she's, oh, well, you know what, go back one, because I'm not there yet. Sorry. Anyway, it starts with a scene from my childhood where I had seen this dog get hit by a car, and I was just a kid, and I was crying, and I was wishing so badly that I could just somehow magically heal this dog. And so that ended up being the first scene of Healer. But then her gift goes dormant until she's 17, and I'm going to tell you more about that when we get to that slide, but that is the book that did not get published for years. And I worked on it, and I kept trying to, make my writing skills better and better. And I finally got there, but in the process, I wrote Show Me a Sign, and that's the next one. In the process, I wrote this other novel about a deaf girl who gets kidnapped, and the boy who is trying to find her, but who is also a prime suspect in the kidnapping. So it's very fast-paced. It's a great one for reluctant readers, and especially for boys, because it's told in alternating chapters from the boy's point of view and the girl's point of view, the girl who is kidnapped. So Show Me a Sign got published, and then Paw Princess in the Snow was next, and as I said, that's poems and animal facts, and I'm going to grab one actually here real quick, like this copy, and every page has a full color photo to go with it. So it's poems, and some of them are short and some of them are long, and but each one of them has the photos on one side and the poem on the other. So this is great for kids like ages 3 to 9, and there's nothing Italian about it at all except the author. So, okay. And so finally, I was at a writers' conference, and anyway, came home and got a email from a publishing house that said, hey, I had gotten your proposal, and we loved the book, and I got a contract. And that was from Vinspire Publishing, and I was very excited about that, and that is Healer. So as I said, Healer is about this 17-year-old girl, and her name is Shiloh Gianelli. I had heard the name from one of the other soccer moms. Their last name was Gianelli, and I liked that name, so I used it. And Shiloh was because I always loved the Shiloh song from Neil Diamond. So that's how her name came about. But she's part of an Italian-American family. Her father is a police sergeant, like my husband. Her mom is teaches cooking classes at the Park District, classes like beautiful bacon and sensual salads, and they all have names like that. And her little sister is a genius. So there's lots of cool, quirky stuff going on, but it's a very solid, loving family. And she's got this boyfriend, Kenji, who is Japanese, like my husband. I don't know how that happened. And everything's going very smoothly until she discovers she has this spiritual power to heal people. And it turns her life inside out. It really she has to keep it a secret. She doesn't have control of this power. God leads her to who she can heal, and it's not always the people that she wants to heal. It leads her to, you know what, go ahead and go to the next slide, because this is the Shiloh slide. This is what I'm talking about, is Shiloh, the main character. And it leads her to meet the girl on the next slide, Misty Morning, because Shiloh heals this little boy who's been abused. And when she is in the hospital visiting him, she meets his mother, who did not abuse him, but his mother is Misty, who is 18-year-old, single mom, complete opposite background of Shiloh, grew up in foster homes. Her mom died of a drug overdose. Her life has been a mess, and she had run away at 16 and gotten pregnant. and moved in with this abusive boyfriend who hurt the child, and that's who Shiloh healed, and that's how she meets Misty. And when the two of them have formed this unlikely friendship, it really leads them into some dangerous situations. So at the end of this book, Shiloh is leaving for Sicily to meet her Nana Marie, who also once had the power and who's living on this mountaintop in Sicily. So the next book, you can go to the next slide, Shards of Light, begins where he lets off, and that's the one that's coming out August 29th. And the first half of the book is set in Sicily, and I did spend a week in Sicily and loved using this beautiful, beautiful area as a setting for my book. And it takes place mostly on or around Mount Etna, which is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. I don't know if you knew that. And yet a quarter of the Sicilian population lives and works around Mount Etna. And there's resorts, and there's shops, and there's homes, and so it's a very beautiful, very can be very dangerous area to live in, and very rich volcanic soil. So in Shards of Light, Shiloh is staying with her Nana Marie, and at this convent, and she thinks it's going to be kind of a peaceful, boring summer, but it turns out to be anything but that. So there's some of the issues that deal with here are human trafficking, for one thing, adoption, because like the other book, it's told from two different girls' perspectives, and the other one is adopted and finds out that her mother was also a victim of human trafficking. So go to the next one. But as I said, it takes place in Sicily, so I thought I'd just show a couple of pictures that I took while I was there. Mount Etna, of course, on top. Beautiful Sicilian coastline, and what I loved in Sicily were all these amazing ceramic shops that were all with these hand-painted ceramics, and beautiful shops that you go into. We'll go to the next slide. And just kind of some shots of Palermo and a winery. They have wonderful wineries. I know that a lot of people like to go to mainland Italy to see all the famous cities and everything, but if you get a chance, I would highly recommend Sicily. It's beautiful. I don't know where I'm at with time. I mean, okay, is there time for questions or?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Any questions? No? Okay, well, I have my books over there in the corner. If you're interested, please let me know after the presentations, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.